once again to distinguished guests, to many of my parliamentary colleagues here today. We've got quite a number of cabinet ministers here today, parliamentary secretaries. We have senators from the Commonwealth Parliament as well, particularly, can I just mention Senator Sinodinos. Great to see you here and welcome. And also, as I mentioned before, to my parliamentary colleagues, I won't name them all, but if you could just give them a round of applause, they deserve one too. We do a pretty good job, I think. Thank you. But thank you very much for being here today as we roll out the red carpet, wind back the red tape and then some, on what is certainly a very special occasion to mark the release of a fantastic piece of Australian literature written, I've got to say, by a most remarkable and fantastic Australian woman. I note the attendance today. I could not note the attendance otherwise of Sir John Singleton, who comes from the marches of the Central Coast. A very big welcome, John. A giant, an absolute giant of his generation, and I've got to say, a true inspiration and as proud as an Australian as you'd find anywhere. Can I just mention here Piers Ackerman, who joins us today. Piers, you've truly made your mark in Australian journalism as a news limited columnist, and I've got to say one of the Australia's probably smartest and top social commentators, if I say so myself. Should be more of you. Welcome, Piers. And I think it's important, a special note to acknowledge the members of the Sydney Mining Club who are present here today. Thank you very much, and particularly their president, Julian Malnick. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurship encompasses the very best of the Australian spirit and the very best of the Australian way of life. To be a successful entrepreneur, you're required to possess a certain element of bravery and a total disregard for a fear of failure. So often, this very fear has stifled the progress of entrepreneurs, sports people, and indeed the very fallible politician. Can I say today, if it wasn't for the likes of Gina Rinehart and Mrs Rinehart's eagerness to succeed and overcome the pest that is the fear of failure, we would not be the great state or country that we've turned out to be. You're sitting in the greatest state, can I say, in the greatest country in the world, and that is in part a product of the hard work and spirit of people like Mrs Rinehart. I know that Gina was born in Perth, but for the first few years of her life, I understand she lived with her parents in the Pilbara, 40 miles north of Wittenoom. Is that right? Wonderful. A roundabout. And I also read that once a week the family would fly some 600 miles to buy groceries. Quite incredible. This is what I'm informed. But I wonder whether her fellow students at St Hilda's Anglican School for Girls ever imagined they were sharing a classroom with a future giant of Australian and global industry, someone whose name is synonymous with entrepreneurial success. Our friends here today, our nation, I should say, was blessed with an abundance of natural gifts. We're also blessed with the ingenuity and foresight to make the most of these gifts so our children and grandchildren can reap those benefits. Let's protect that and not ever lose sight of the fact that New South Wales, I've got to say, is a mining state and will always be. And Mrs Rinehart, you're always welcome here, as the Premier said, with open arms. As probably one of this country's largest individual employers and taxpayers, can I, on behalf of the grateful citizens of this country, thank you for your contribution, not just to employment, but also for the tax that you pay here in this country. Thank you. But your significance doesn't start and finish with a monetary value. It's your leadership as a resilient woman, leading an industry so dominated, I've got to say, by many great men here today, that will serve as an inspiration to so many young women for many, many generations to come. I look forward to finishing your book. I only started it 2 days ago, and retaining all the valuable insights that someone such as yourself has been so kind and generous to share with all of us, the public. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure on behalf of the New South Wales Government and the people of New South Wales to ask you to join with me in welcoming Mrs Gina Rinehart.